biggest piece is not the picking and packing, right? And not the carton I put it in. It's the shipping from A to B. And
Yeah.
so that's the piece that I think is your big lever. We all know nobody Googles for product, you Amazon for products, just what's out there in the world.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining again. This is the High Voltage Business Builders Podcast. As always, as I tell you, like, comment, share, put something stupid in the comments. I don't care. Give us some engagement. It gets the engine out there, gets the message out there. And I want to talk today, guys, if you are in the world of e-commerce dealing with fulfillment of any kind across any channel, then you're going to want to listen to this today. We're going to get into some of the meat and the pros and cons and opportunities and struggles of fulfillment of those products and physical goods today. So I brought Lori from Falcon Fulfillment on today, and we're going to talk about her expertise. She's going to share a few things that you guys should hear about today. So where in the excitement of fulfillment, I know we were joking about this earlier, is the most exciting thing happening right now?
That's a good question, because I think when you look at fulfillment, no one goes, oh man, I cannot wait to ship a bunch of boxes, right? It's not the highlight of the supply chain. Yeah. But I think it's changing pretty dynamically right now. We see the change with Amazon. Neil, I think there used to be that idea that it was like everything had to get there in 2 days, then everything had to get there in 1 day. So there's that same day or 2-day fulfillment model. But we actually see lots of different fulfillment models. And that opens up the door for lots of different companies, because you don't have to have product in 50 locations around the country. It doesn't have to get there overnight. You don't have to spend overnight shipping to get it there. So that opens the door for more products, more companies, more, specialty. And I think that's where it really makes it exciting. A few years ago, really pre-COVID, Amazon really pushed that 2-day model. And I still hear that every once in a while. People are like, well, Amazon and the 2-day model. But we don't find that so much anymore.
Yeah.
A few hundred customers, we find them being, on both sides of the country to handle North America. But they're able to do that in 3-4 days. And most people are fine with that now. So that means that's exciting to me. So instead of like, well, Amazon dominates the world or one brand dominates the world, you can say, I have something special. I want it to get out to the market. I've got people out there that want my specific brand, and you can play now. And that's why I think it's exciting, right? It just opens up the door for things.
Well, so much is changing so fast, it's hard to keep up with, because, when FBA was bought by Amazon, the logistics company, they rebranded. They weren't a very large fulfillment company. Now, as part of Amazon, they're the 6th largest fulfillment company in the world. And that has changed things so dramatically. If you look at Thomas Friedman's The World is Flat, he basically said, all things equal outside of product, we're going to get to a position where it just has to do with the value of the brand, because we're just, everything is going to be on an equal plane. It's changed so dramatically just in the last 3 years. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think you'll see both. I see both models, and they seem to be growing together. So you have that model where it's like, yep, Amazon taking over the world. I buy every single thing there. And we all know nobody Googles for product, you Amazon for products, just what's out there in the world. But I do have brands that also say, you know what, I'm not going to play in that space. I'm going to play with my market. So that could be something more niche-y. For example, in health and wellness, you might say, I'm going to gear towards the triathlete, or I'm going to gear towards Christian health, or I'm going to gear towards something. And then there is a market for that. And then they know your brand and they'll go there. So it does seem to be more polarizing, that it's like, I'm in the big game, or I am specific, and man, my group knows me and I can play in that brand. So I think you're right. I think, the world is flat is a perfect analogy. But I also think that there is now growing space where I didn't think that a few years ago. I thought, no way, it's Amazon or nothing. And now you're like, no way. People keep popping in there. And we've got a number of clients even that just don't even play in the Amazon space. They're like huge. And they just go, you know what? My market knows us. We're not going to go there. I'm going to get deeper discounts. I'm going to get product right to me. I'm not going to play that game. And then you've got, of course, everybody else that's like, so it's an exciting world, because I think it allows for business owners and entrepreneurs to say, where do I want to play? And I can play either space. What do you think? What are you seeing out there?
Well, no, I 100% agree with what you're saying, because at the end of the day, it's going to be an established channel and a brand, depending upon where you establish that and how you establish the audience conversation directly, or you use Amazon's leverage brand and infrastructure to get that conversation off the ground. At some point, for me, it really comes down to the numbers of moving that product, not just the expectation or expeditious movement of that product to the customer based on their needs and demand, but it's what are they willing to buy? What are they willing to pay for? And what makes sense on where it's stored and how do I deliver it? to that customer at different levels. It may not make sense to move a 100-pound product into Amazon cost, but it may make sense to move it directly to the consumer from a third-party logistics facility. It's going to come down to the money at the end of the day, as long as the customer is happy with it. But I know we went out to this weird place of AliExpress and 2-week shipments and all this nonsense. That
Yeah.
kind of fell flat on itself quite a bit and moved back in. What are some of the other changes you're seeing maybe on the fulfillment or even cost side and time of movement to products to market? What are you seeing in the area?
I'm actually thinking one of the biggest changes we've seen is the change from, the small parcel carriers like UPS. So UPS was the main partner there at Amazon. And now, as everybody knows, you see the gray trucks all over town, right? They're bringing the products out to you. And then we saw the Teamsters and things happening at UPS at the end of last year, which then,
Big one.
now they're doing layoffs and all. So there's a huge dynamic in that actual small parcel, you know, space of how to get the product out to people.
Mhm.
And there are a lot of players out there besides UPS. I mean, I love UPS, don't get me wrong, but they're a big player. But Amazon controlled that piece, and that shaking that loose allowed for us to use a lot of different carriers, combo carriers, DHL, UPS Mail Innovations going out to the post office at the last mile. They're just all these really creative carrier solutions now that allow people to get things less expensive. So even though you see this, inflation and all these different things, fuel costs still high, these carriers are able to get things there at fairly reasonable. So if I did a pie chart for just domestic shipping or fulfillment, and I'm not talking about manufacturing, but just the
Mhm.
getting from my place to your place,
Yeah, logistics.
the
Yep.
biggest piece is not the picking and packing, right? And not the carton I put it in. It's the shipping from A to B. And
Yeah.
so that's the piece that I think is your big lever. We see lots of options. And I think the people that are doing well there, Neil, are people that play the Mosaic game, meaning I'm going to do a little piece of this and I'm going to do some here. Into Alaska, I'm going to do something. Into Florida, I'm going to do something else. In the Midwestern states, I'm using UPS or whatever. So they use kind of a tapestry or mosaic of solutions rather
Yeah.
than I'm going with one because
Yeah.
there's so many players out there. And I think again, if that pie chart is your big pieces shipping spend, you got to play with that lever, right? You got to be like, what am I going to do with that shipping? One example that I've seen recently is people really playing with subscription models, right? So it's still
Yeah.
an auto ship model of some kind.
Mhm.
But if you have something on an auto ship model, you don't you can ship something and take 4 or 5 days to get there
That's right.
because you're shipping, say, every 25 days to give them
That's
their
right.
monthly supply of vitamins. So you can ship every 25 days instead of 30 plus shipping. So you can play with the model to be able to reduce your cost in that space. And I think that sounds like overly simplified. You're like, Lori, we know shipping's the most expensive. And I'm like, okay, but watch what we can do by just changing it with a 2-day to a 4-day ship model. It's a huge amount of your spend. I mean, you're going from spending $10, $15 to $4 or $5 as a cost. And most consumers are still expecting some kind of free shipping or very minimal shipping. I don't
I'm in
see a
agree that
change in that.
yeah, we've
So
been all conditioned to that, haven't we?
yeah, haven't we? And we all just know that's in the margin of the product. I mean, it's never free, but
No,
we don't wanna pay extra for it. So
you can get it for $34 plus shipping or $39.95 with
right.
free shipping. It's
You
always a
know,
lovely
yeah,
game. We all
and
fall for it. People
yeah,
still
we're
fall
just
for
totally
it.
into that, right? And I think we're so accustomed to that that then that's why you have to play with that shipping amount.
Correct.
And so you can play with
Correct.
that 2, 4, 5-day model and keep it a little bit cheaper, a little bit longer. So again, I think those sound kind of ridiculous if you're like, well, what's sexy in shipping? And you're like, that is your big lever.
There's only
Manufacturing is the same piece though. How are you going to bring it in? Right. Because that cost to get
wherever
it
your
in and then
logistics
back
coming.
out is really expensive. And a lot of
Gotta
times you're
know
bringing
those
it in
numbers.
from overseas.
FedEx, if I'm just thinking out loud here, I forgot it, it just came to me when you said this, but
Yeah.
FedEx is actually kind of creating its own marketplace and delivery system, isn't it, right now?
Yeah.
How is that impacting? How do you see that going forward?
They've all got their specialties. So we will use FedEx as a specialty. They have some 2-day products. They have kind of the faster day products. They have some other niche products. And so they just play in their different niche. So FedEx is playing well in that space, but we tend to use it again in its niche, which is probably in the faster, right? Sometimes we'll say,
Mm.
and that might not be for everybody depending on weights and things, but
Yep.
you might say, hey, FedEx, you're not going to maybe play in this uber cheap, low 4 or 5 day shipping, but you're great at these lower weights, just regular consumer products like the size of a football or something. And it gets to you in just a few days faster. So they're playing really well there. And I think they've positioned themselves better to be a little more niche market, specialty market. Both UPS and FedEx are playing in the healthcare market, right? So they're both trying to get that healthcare piece, but they're finding their niches, and I think that's the trick. As a small company, that's hard because you don't want to have like 10 contracts because they're always just based on volume. So if you spread your spend out, you're in trouble. So you have to kind of plan that appropriately. Where are you going to spend for fast stuff, for slow and cheap? Where are you going to play for the US? What are you going to do for international? If you're going to play international, because those markets are so different and they're so
Yeah.
different, but you could do a different play. I'm going to do FedEx for 2 day. I'm going to do, mail innovations from UPS for 4 or 5 days, something like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So kind of a
Oh,
mishmash.
absolutely. I know they're doing a little bit of innovation specifically outside of the other carriers right now to put that FXD market in place by 2024, this year.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Curious to
we're
see how
we're
that
we're
impacts things.
seeing some of that legwork go into place. And then you see
Yeah.
someone like the post office chasing it, right? Like, oh, we're gonna do
Good luck with that.
something too. And
Not the horses. The US Postal Service, don't get me
I
started
you
on them.
know, I know I love the United States, but we're not that great at it used to be, through rain or sleet or snow, and
Oh, that's a
I'm
great
like,
thing, no doubt.
or whatever. Right, it'll get there whenever. But they're a
Yep.
partner with UPS, they're a good partner with the post office, they're a good partner with DHL to get it out to your house, which is that expensive last mile. So there are
Yeah.
places that you can kind of leverage the post office, but if it's, custom critical, I wouldn't probably be sending a post office, but we use a lot of the post office because we can find that little piece, right? That last mile. So yeah, FedEx is going to leverage that. They're both FedEx and UPS are putting in more equipment, right? They were more ready for this peak season than I've ever seen, right? They had more
Yeah.
equipment, more stations, more space, more personnel, and we had probably the smoothest kind of Christmas peak that I can remember in a really long time.
Yeah.
So they're kind of
Yeah.
catching up to our crazy
Right.
spending online. Yeah.
So as a leader in this and Falcon going forward with your movement and product and logistics and,
Uh-huh.
more than a decade experience doing this, as you project future forward, where are you taking Falcon? Where are you guys seeing your opportunities? Where are you currently playing and kind of what are you innovating in?
Thanks, Neil. Right now we really are staying in kind of the health, wellness, beauty space because it tends to feature a smaller product on kind of, I would call the subscription model or a consumable model. So they're vitamins or they're a supplement or a beauty product that you're going to use and then you're going to need again. So you're not going to order that, right? You're going to order some and then you're going to order some more. And so you're going to get repetitive business. So they're smaller shipping amounts. So it's a bottle of your monthly supply of immune boost or whatever, and then you get it again. So then that means we're placing ourselves, making sure we have enough space in both sides of the country to handle people's growth and then be able to use that different model. And that's going to be so the space and then the technology. So the technology for us is the second piece. We're really jumping into the AI piece a lot to try to get trends in purchasing, trends in commodities, trends in spends, trends in shipping lanes, where we can leverage data to do that, right? It can just get massive amounts of data now. And I think that's
Churn
where
through it so
Falcon,
fast. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're not trying not to let AI take over the world. And I am
True.
very nice to my AI. So if it does take over, it
You
remembers that I'm
better be
very
careful.
blunt. I'm very polite to my chat GPT. No, but
Yeah.
we
Or
are,
Gemini, or yeah, be
yeah.
careful. Don't
We're
get
so
me started on that nonsense.
I know, I know. But I think there's so much data going on. There's so many transactions, right? We're touching these things a bazillion times. Even
Yeah.
in our warehouse, we'll pick up
Yeah.
something and touch it and put it in the box and touch it 12 more times. And we're always evaluating how to make that faster, cheaper, better quality for a consumer. Like I get a nice product and I get it in its nice condition. So I
Yep.
think those are big things for us. We position on keeping both sides of the country, be able to get all that data that we'd be able to need to see, well, I don't know what it's going to be. No one would have predicted COVID. So what's it going to be in 2 years? We all think we know, but what I know is there's going to be some surprises. There's going to be surprises
Mm.
from overseas markets. There's going to be a
Mhm.
surprise with fuel. And so what is that going to be? I don't know, but then we'll be positioned to be able to leverage that so
Y-
that people can still jump in. And I think
Well,
that's always
there's
the smartest with business, right?
well,
Like,
try. I mean, crystal balls. We wish we could predict the future, right? But
yeah,
what we know right now is it. Like I saw, and you tell me what you're seeing on the front
yeah.
lines here. But the container prices are going up again.
Yeah, those cans, those dirty cans, and it,
What?
there's just that overseas import. You see so much still coming from
Yeah.
China, Vietnam.
Yeah.
I don't see that ending. But I've seen more manufacture in the States or say
You
even
think
North America than I have seen in years.
that's good to hear? I mean, I'm
Yeah,
seeing similar, so I'm glad to hear that. Are
yeah.
you
Oh, you
seeing
are.
more? Well, it's good. I got 3 manufacturers in the United States, so I already
Yeah,
know
yeah.
if you're playing in the right place with the right profitability, you can still get good
That's
stuff.
right.
And there's a number of things that are coming, I think, that are still in the pipeline. We don't hear about it just yet, but after Trump's era a little bit, there's quite a bit more incentive for companies to be in the United States,
Right,
take advantage of things like the tariffs out of China and stuff they don't have to get. And what did I see
right.
yesterday? Mexico imports from South America up are above
Off the
Chinese
box,
in terms of imports due to the tariffs and stuff. So that's
which
fascinating
is
to watch
great.
those changes.
And for the high quality, overseas stuff has pretty high quality, but we see quality things for say supplements are often manufactured in the States because of the
Mm-hmm.
control, right? So
Oh,
even
you
though it's not
talk, talk, talk.
FDA regulated, people still are making these quality supplements. Or like if I'm
Yeah.
putting it on my face, I'm not gonna, make it who knows
Yeah.
where. So we see a lot of that happening. But the same thing even with packaging. We used to get a lot
Mm-hmm.
more packaging from overseas. And I
Mm-hmm.
think we get a lot more now from North America.
$1 billion idea for you.
Oh, okay, I'm ready.
What to do with all of the packaging that shows up at your house from Amazon and third party deliveries that you just end up breaking down or burning or throwing in the trash? If
I
someone can
think
recycle and use that and turn it profitable, there's $1 billion idea sitting on the other
there
side
is
of
a billion
all of
idea.
these patents.
I feel like you just knock them down and leave them, and the Amazon guy or whatever can pick them up and take them back because half of
Back to the
them
trash or
they
the burn pile
only
or wherever.
yeah. A couple people have done really cool, totally different discussion, but people have done some products where it kinda shreds it and it makes it almost meshy. So you take a piece of
Okay.
a corrugated
Back to
and you
pulp, if
stick
you
it
will.
in, and then it becomes but it's super messy. Like, I've used them
Yeah.
before, and they just throw dust all the time, and then you've got all these weird pieces, and you're trying to find them. So we haven't quite been able to recycle those, but you're like, "What do I do with all that cardboard?" You're like,
But
"Well,
I
material."
all of that stuff that comes, not just the packing material, but the cardboard boxes. I keep thinking to
Oh,
myself that
yes.
every time I throw them away, I'm thinking somebody is missing an idea to just collect all those boxes for free
Yep.
and then just figure
Just
out maybe there's
repurpose
somebody
them.
already doing it. Figure out how to repurpose, reuse it, turn it
He
into
does
a
it with
product
pallets.
or something.
I know. I'm chasing the pallet guy all the time in my truck, right? Or with their truck. They're like
Yeah.
taking pallets and rebuilding, the wooden pallets. Someone should be
Yeah.
rebuilding that cardboard. We used to,
I wish I
recycle it
could
and
help
send
with
it
that, man.
overseas, and it doesn't people don't recycle it as much, but
No, I think there's some side hustle going on.
I think
People,
you're onto
kids,
something.
young
I don't know
adults,
what the answer
somebody.
is, but
Go hustle for that. Figure out how to get that cardboard taken care of. I don't know. There's an opportunity waiting for some creative genius to go out there and make a
go.
killing on
There's your $1 million idea, if only.
just people will give it to you.
Oh, in
You
fact,
can sell it with
please
100%
come
markup.
take it. Yeah, please come
Just
I hate
take it, get
breaking it
it,
down. Yeah.
sell it. If it's a good one, repackage it. I don't know. There's got to be something there that someone hasn't
Yeah.
figured out yet. They're certainly throwing away a lot of that stuff, aren't
Well, and I've noticed even recently that, Amazon, especially because they have more local delivery in the bigger
they?
the
Yep.
urban areas, they don't even put it in a box anymore, right? They just put a label on it. And
Yep.
you're like, "Were you even gonna cover that up?" I've gotten
People are going to steal that off
undergarments
the
and stuff
doors.
in a bag, and I'm like, "Come
Yeah.
on, man."
No. Well, now I saw earlier because we don't live in a neighborhood or in a cul-de-sac. We live in a
Yeah.
county because I'm
Mhm.
way outside of even a town. But I saw this thing the other day where it's like, well, just give us your code. We'll open the door and stick it inside of your house and then close the door and we're done. And I'm thinking, wow,
I don't
I don't have
mm,
that much trust. Am I just not that trustworthy a person or
I
the system or stuff? I just
no.
don't feel like I could trust that.
No, I don't think so. I've seen some unique boxes though, where they have kind of a postal box, but like a porch box for Amazon packages, right? So it kind of
Yes.
reminds me of an old
Your little
mailbox, right? So
QR
it drops
code or
in and then you
whatever.
dig it out for
The
porch
whole idea of
piracy.
opening my garage or whatever just didn't.
Yeah, yeah. We saw a lot of porch piracy during COVID, right? I think
A
people were a
lot.
little more desperate or bored or terrible. I don't know what they were doing, but we saw a
Yeah.
lot more of that, and I've just seen a decline in that. I don't
Yeah.
know if that's everywhere, but we used to get a lot more reports of it delivered, but I never got it. It still happens, but man, a couple years ago, everyone was stealing stuff off the porch. Now it's like,
I was just stealing it from the trucks. The one I saw the
probably
other day, they just
or they
paraded an
determined
entire truck.
they didn't need the toilet paper anymore. I can't imagine
Right?
that
Oh
they'd
my
be so
gosh.
disappointed in what they picked up at my
The
house for, like,
great
another
TP of
can of beans?
2020.
Yeah.
Insane. When
So,
you are working with your clients, I'm sure you have automation and systems in place. How seamless is it for someone to work with you to
you
get
know,
their
we
product?
yeah, we have 2 what we call critical paths, right? The 2 hurdles to usually get in, and one's the technology. And for most shopping carts, it's 15 minutes. So it's just click, click,
Right.
as fast as you can go through it. So that's pretty seamless. The second hurdle is just getting us the inventory. And
Okay.
that's usually we just freight it in. So as soon as we can get those going, we can usually go live. We've gone live with people in as fast as 4 days is our record. I would
Okay.
never recommend that. That is pretty fast. They had
Right.
product en route and
Okay.
had somebody fail on them, a partner fail on them.
Oops.
But we often do it in a few weeks, getting the stuff set up and off they go. So you can do it, and they typically don't have a big development team. Our team
Yeah.
takes care of that for you, so
Yeah.
that you can go sell and you want to be working on your brand. Like I think every entrepreneur wants to work on their brand and their product and sell stuff. They don't want to. Not many people are like, I love operations. I can't wait to do supply chain.
No, not
So
many people are like that.
no,
No.
no. So you're like, good, someone who's excited about that and can worry
I'm
about all
supposed
that
to find
stuff.
the ones
So
that geek out
yeah,
on it, right?
yeah. So a couple,
You're
for most people, a couple weeks.
okay, and you're centrally located, if I'm not mistaken. You're in Utah, right? Not far from the
We
airport?
have an office in Utah and one in
Utah.
Louisville, Kentucky. Yeah.
Which is good because we had a warehouse in Utah too, and it was very close to the airport. So I know the logistics and the freight and inbound to international is all really great to move
You got it.
anything really into Salt Lake City, which is cool.
Yeah, Salt Lake City's just booming. I heard recently, I can't back this up, but we were the number one economy in the United States as far as
No kidding.
growing economy. Yeah.
Wow.
And
Probably
and
all
I
those
believe that with
supplements.
the traffic.
That's all
I
the
grew
supplements.
I grew up in California, and so
Yeah.
coming here to Utah was a big expanse, and now it's
Oh
getting a
yeah.
little more.
Big difference. So how'd you get from California to Utah then?
Who knows? How did we get here? Work. I mean, it was work. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I grew up. So people say that you moved from San Diego to Utah. And I'm like, come on, Utah's beautiful. And it's
Yeah,
a
it is.
big open outdoors. California is pretty crowded and expensive.
Oh,
So yeah,
yeah.
so I've been here almost 20 years now. So
Yeah.
I almost can say I'm from Utah at this point. But
Well, you're in what's the time? 10 years? I'd say 10 years and you're a
I
native.
know. Is there a thing? Because I used to say I'm from
There's a
California for some
there's a
reason. And now I'm like, I live in Utah. So
No,
yeah.
it's beautiful country. I used to travel back and forth there quite a bit and travel through there as I would go either from Oregon to the Midwest or Midwest to the
Mhm.
Oregon, depending upon what part of my life I was in. But loved Park City. I always fell in
Oh
love with
yeah.
Park City.
Yeah.
Almost moved up there. It's pretty expensive, but it was easier to get in there 20 years ago than it is now.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
to be
It's
here.
it's a
Beautiful
beautiful
country.
place. Beautiful place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me of all those little mountain villas that grow up
Yes.
seeing like
Yes.
Switzerland or something. It's just here. Yeah.
It's
In
a
fact, we got
cheaper
some
version of Estes Park in
cheaper
Colorado.
version of Estes Park. I don't know if anymore if it's
It's a
cheaper, but it
boring
is.
just park.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not the knock Park City. Sorry.
Utah's become a lot more diverse than I
Mhm.
remember when I first got here,
Yeah.
which is great. With the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints being here, one thing you get is all those returned missionaries. They speak every language. So it has some of the best like customer service departments because
That
they
is
can do every
awesome.
language. Isn't that funny?
I
So it has
hadn't thought of that, but that's very
it has
clever.
weird features that you're like, wow, I
Right?
have every language ever, at the tip of my finger. So yeah.
That's a cool bonus.
I don't know, but it's kind of that Intermountain West, so it's
Yes.
the Delta hub, and it's right
Yep.
here on 80 and 70, so it just makes a nice hub where land is still a little cheaper and labor is a little cheaper than say California or somewhere
There
else. But
that's the
then our
east.
other facilities in Kentucky for the same reason, right?
Okay.
That's UPS Worldport, and so we're
Gotcha.
based there. Yeah.
Oh, smart. Oh, so you got good logistics set up across the United States.
Yeah, that usually gets us about everywhere, right? We've looked at
Right.
California and Texas, and we just always kind of pull back from it going, doesn't seem like we quite need it, but we're always kind of poised to put the next spot down depending on the clients, right? So, yeah.
Well, guys, is there a question I didn't ask you that you'd like me to ask you that I missed?
Mm,
The
well, I
3
don't
tips
know.
to pack your bags so your products don't break. The
Well, I think the one thing that I want everyone to know if they do select a third
Yep.
party logistics to do it is they're not all the same. And that's the same for us too, right? We fit a certain size of company doing a certain kind of product in a certain timeline.
Yeah.
And there are big guys and there are medium guys and there are small guys. And just know that they're all different. It's a
Yeah.
big market in 3PL.
Yep.
And so be sure and you try to match what they're doing with what you do to find the best price and what's gonna leverage. Every once in a while we'll have someone come to us with something like, do you do frozen food or something? And we're like, no. And we're always like, well, we could, we could. And
Right.
it just, but we're not leveraged in that space.
Right.
Right. And so if someone's like, hey, should I go to Falcon Fulfillment or should I go to fill in blank? I would be like, I don't know. Let's talk and find an honest partner. Find an honest partner that will tell you that you're a good fit or not a good fit for them, because this is your business, right? This is what their customer experience. This is who loves your product and takes care of it. And the experience when the customer opens the box usually comes from us. And so you want to find a partner that you can really mesh with call on their cell phones and talk to them. You have direct communication with them and they're a good fit, because there are a lot of people out there. And I would tell someone, if you came with frozen foods, I'd go, no, but I got a guy you should call, right? We're
Yep.
not for everyone, and nor is everyone else. And that seems obvious, but take your time finding the right partner in this space, because it's a big amount of your spend. So it's
Well, guys, check it out below. It'll be in the show notes. It's falconfulfillment.com. Before you ship your pants, go to falconfulfillment.com and check it out.
That's right.
And
That's
maybe
right.
you might ship something else. Who knows? We'll see. You might be surprised at the prices and how kind everybody is. Laura, you're amazing. I appreciate you coming on. Saying
Thanks,
hi.
Neil.
Get better. Talk to you later.
Thanks, pal. Talk to you soon.